Welcome back to the Within podcast. This is your host, Nicky, Wallace. We have Heidi Buttoph and special guest Dr. Steffany Mohan here today. So welcome to the show. We're excited to have you. I know you're like I said, I know you in a lot of different areas. So I'm just going to pass the mic to you and have you introduce yourself and kind of how you got your practices started and kind of where you are today.
Yeah. So thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on. This is really, it's a great thing. So I'm a dentist by trade. I actually, terrifying, in a couple months, it'll be 30 years since I graduated from dental school. Like, I don't know how that happens. Like one day you like wake up and you're like, wow, that was a really fast 30 years. I have had a lot, I think as a lot of people have, a lot of personal experiences with traditional medicine, just not being the answer that I needed. I'm married to an MD. I'm married to a physician. He does general surgery. He's amazing. Incredible at what he does. We were talking about the crazy concert that we went to a few days ago, and my nephew was like, I just don't think that Uncle Mike, like, there's anybody better in the whole state. And I was like, I'm going to agree with you. I think he's incredible. He's just that solid, steady, like what you really need in your surgeon, right? And if you need your appendix out, you need your appendix out. If you need your gallbladder out, you probably, I've had some of my most holistic friends that have had to have their gallbladders out, right? So, it's just like, right. There's just certain situations that it requires. Well, what happened to me is that, maybe back a little while, because my oldest will be 27, I had my first 3 kids in 4 years, so pretty quickly, right? And my body just didn't really recover. And I ended up with a bit of I can't say a bit of anything, but with a thyroid, hypothyroid condition. And, in my early 30s thinking that like, this is it, this is as good as it gets. I'm like toast, right? And I was exhausted. I just felt so, and I went to my doctor before I found out that I had the thyroid condition, and he's like, oh, here's an antidepressant. And I said, I'm really proud of myself, I guess, for like being in my early 30s and knowing I'm not depressed, I'm exhausted.
That's the problem. Yeah.
There's a true difference, right? Not like, I was still like functioning because I had 3 little kids and I had a dental practice, and I just was like really like sludging through life, right? And so I ended up at this conference, strangely, a dental conference with an early functional medicine provider. So this is probably 2004.
Interesting.
Crazy, right? And so I'm like 20 plus years into this whole journey at this point. And he ran some labs for me because that was like it was actually like a pitch at a dental conference, which cracks me up. And I was like, I need an answer here. I'm exhausted. And like the thyroid medication, they'd found out that I had low thyroid, and the thyroid medication just never made me feel better. And so what happened is then they ran my labs, and he said, you actually don't technically have a thyroid issue, you have an amino acid deficiency. And he said, and he was a biochemist, and I was a biochemistry major in college, and he said, go back to your biochem, like your basic. He said, amino acids make proteins make hormones. And so if you don't have enough amino acid or enough protein, you can't make the thyroid hormone.
Right.
And so seriously, I can't even call it a light bulb moment. It was a blow my mind moment. And I was like, wait a minute, that stuff is applicable to our
like
body.
Here we are in the wild, and this is like all coming together.
Yeah, and around the same time, I had these are really beautiful people too, right? They're really like lovely individuals that are just really like open to like changing the thought process of like what we've always been told, right? Or what kind of the mainstream medicine will tell us and what they've been told. And so, I never ever, we're all as providers on our journey in what we're learning and what we're doing now, right?
Right.
And a lot of it comes from personal experience. Well, my other personal experience was that, so almost immediately upon starting amino acid supplements, I felt like myself again, right?
Isn't that wild?
Like, Yeah, it was
Yeah.
insane. And so, like 2 years on thyroid medication, I didn't feel better. And like 3 weeks on amino acids, and I was like a completely different person. And you kind of, then you even question yourself, like, is it placebo effect or what's
Right.
going on here?
Right.
But it wasn't, right? I mean, it was absolutely like my body was healing itself. It was actually like I found the root cause of what was going on. And so about the same time, I met this really lovely dentist, and he said, I want to challenge you on something, and at the time, like I had a really, really nice practice that we didn't use. I mean, we're not using, silver mercury fillings because they're ugly, not necessarily because we don't think that they're, I mean, again, you have to challenge some of the things that you're taught by people that you really believe and trust. And he said, Steffany, you have to think about the possibility that this is more toxic than you were led to believe. And he said there's 2 places you can legally put a mercury silver filling. And he said one is in a patient, in a person, and the other is in the hazardous waste. And he said you cannot put it in the trash, you cannot put it in the sink, and if you spill it on the floor, you were taught to call a hazmat team if you spill it on the floor. But logically, we're also told that it's perfectly, completely safe to put in that person. Yeah. And so, like, for some reason, these conflicting things do not add up. But you have to undo. I have a friend that calls it unlearning, or relearning, or you have to like do these. You have to figure these things out, and it has to make sense to your brain, and your brain has to like, stop, and then like retrain itself a little bit. And so that's like the beginning of my journey. I mean, then that's still like, 20 years back, right? And so then like it goes into, once I started amino acid supplements and I felt so much better, I'm like, what else is true?
Right.
I really like, I want to know. And so then like, just learning and then, just becoming more organic with our nutrition, more careful about, we, put in a reverse osmosis system, more careful with what supplements I would choose and put in my body. And just like all of these little pieces and parts that just added together. And I'm just like every single part, I'm not perfect. I'm not even close. Like there's things that I'm just like, oh, look, sugar,
Right.
And,
You're
so
human. Yes.
Yeah. So like super like very human in my behaviors. And I used to I came to a point like kind of perimenopause. I mean, I'm 54 now. So like perimenopause, menopause age where like I was just like, oh, I'm not moving as much as I used to move because I don't have to, because I'm not chasing after little ones or I'm not picking them up. I used to tell people like I had these really great arms because like, I had like these guns, right? Because I was like just picking up toddlers all the time with my 4 kids. And so I didn't do that anymore. So I'm like, wait, I'm not getting this built-in like movement and things. And see, Nicky, you're still lucky that way. Haha.
I'm also tired. So like,
exactly. So like, it's funny because like, there's all this stuff that's written about, balance and all this kind of thing. And the best thing that anybody ever said to me that I just like, for some reason, just resonated so well with me was that, balance is this teeter-totter and you're always kind of trying to find the perfect balance. They said, you're really looking for the rhythm of your life. You're looking for, sometimes it's a staccato beat when you have little ones and sometimes it's this like really nice, and I'm in this really nice, like kind of, flowing, maybe country rhythm right now, so.
I always say like everybody's always like, oh, work-life balance, and I'm like, it's just life. Like there's, I don't know, you just
I think just balance never fit for me. It just always felt like I was chasing it,
Yeah.
So I was like, if I can find the right rhythm for my life, that makes sense.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. But anyway.
And now you're in the country, is that what you said?
No, yeah, maybe. I mean, like the like.
I like that analogy.
The porch, the pickup trucks in the driveway kind of stage or something like that. I don't know, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, maybe jazz. I don't know. But the last part of my journey was a little over 10 years ago. We lost my dad to a sudden heart attack. Like I had lunch with him on Saturday, and early Sunday morning, he passed away. And he did. He just woke up in the morning, went to get in the shower, laid back down on the bed, and died. And and with my mom. I mean, traumatic for my mom. Just like sudden deaths in families. Like like long drawn out illness is terrible.
Right.
Sudden death is terrible. Like we,
Right.
I mean, just from like a faith perspective, like we weren't really made for that, right? We weren't
Right.
designed for that. And so, like just death is a really difficult thing. And we just, until you really experience like a really significant one in your life, you don't know how to process it. So went through a lot of stuff with that, but it did lead me to understanding that like sleep apnea had really contributed to his sudden heart attack and his sudden death. And so we started a sleep center because I just really committed to making sure that people are aware that sleep is such a huge, I mean, it's the time that we heal. It's the time that we, we just like, we're able to rest and revive and refresh. And so many people just aren't sleeping, or they're not sleeping well, or they're unaware. It's amazing how few sleep tests we get. We do home sleep tests, which is really wonderful. We don't have to.
Yeah, that's nice.
People right. I always tell people like the creepy cameras and like hooking up to all the things in somebody else's bed just didn't seem like a good choice to me.
Like, and then go get a good night's sleep and show us how well you sleep. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Like
Take you out of your norm.
Yeah, completely. I mean, like it's hard enough sometimes to sleep in our own beds, let alone somebody else's with somebody watching. Like that's odd. And so so we do home tests, and I mean, like almost never get a test back that doesn't show sleep apnea.
Really?
And that's not because, I mean, obviously the people that are testing are people that have a suspicion that something's wrong with my sleep, right? But and then instead of like a CPAP is continuous positive air pressure, it's like it's shoving air into your nose, sometimes your mouth, and which you're not really supposed to breathe through your mouth. The mouth is for eating, the nose is for breathing.
Mouth tape.
Yeah, mouth tape. Right, exactly. I'm big fan of the cheapest mouth tape you could ever buy. Like, don't buy the jazzy, bougie mouth tape.
Scotch.
Right? Yeah, 3M like surgical tape, like right here. That's all you need. So I mean, like Sleep Center for me is like kind of a labor of love. It's been just an awareness thing, right? So just helping people to understand, like, hey, get a sleep test. We can tell you a lot from just a sleep test. So we work with a lot of physicians, even though we're, on the dental side, we have physicians that read our tests and that, recommend to the patient what they really need. So instead of a CPAP, we do what's called a mandibular advancement device. And so we push the lower jaw forward so that it actually like opens up the airway and it keeps it open all night. So that's really what you're looking for, right? You're looking to breathe all night long. And so, which is what sleep apnea is the opposite of breathing all night long. So, so
this is just something you can put in your mouth at night, and it helps. Interesting.
Yeah, I know. Fascinating, right? I mean, there's just so many really wonderful things out there. And like, I think that's one of the hard things about being like a seeker or a, information gathering person. You're like, whoa, there's so much, like fire hose.
Yeah. But I love that you've taken action. Like, I feel like that's one cool thing about you is like, when I first met you, I was like super intimidated because I was like, whoa, she like has all of the things going on and she's so smart and like all this stuff. But A, you're like such an awesome person, but B, like the fact that you just have taken on all of these different best practices and created places for people to come is just awesome. So kudos to you.
That's really sweet.
For doing that. Yeah, I mean, it's just also important.
Is most of our reality, but it's usually not true.
Well, I appreciate having met you, Dr. Steffany, because I have since moved my dental care and am in the process of removing those mercury fillings from my mouth. And I can't speak high enough the experience that I had, the thoroughness that the nurses and your dentist there that's in the holistic dentistry. I had no idea really what was going to transpire. I didn't watch, a video or any of that stuff, but they're very thorough with their PPE and, the device that you put in the mouth to make sure you're not losing any of the mercury down your throat, I assume.
Or anywhere else, right? You don't
and the ozone that's in the air and you're breathing ozone and stuff at the same time. But I also have to say, just on the holistic dentistry and going and getting my teeth cleaned, I shared this with Nicky and team. For the first time in 53 years, I was told I was tongue-tied.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
And so I was like, what? I'm like,
Yeah.
And she's like, you're almost like a level 3. So, not quite there. And I'm like, well, what do I do about this? And so, she recommended physical therapy first, because obviously we're not going to go down the snipping it
in a day, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been working on tongue tied exercises.
Oh my gosh. I
Who would
didn't
have
know
known?
I know, it's fascinating. It's so fun. Like there's so much stuff. And you know what's funny is I wish that we didn't have this disjointed system. Like I wish we could all just come together and work together. I wish the system supported that, right? Like wouldn't it be cool if we had physical therapists and chiropractors and functional medicine docs and dentists and like everybody that just kind of all worked, in harmony together. And I mean, like maybe that's just a goal,
Yeah. I know. I mean, that's one reason that we're kind of like where we're at, because I'm just like going through my own experience, and you learn, you meet people, and like 3 obviously got me involved in like meeting you and a lot of other amazing practitioners, but it's crazy how much you have to seek out, because I always say too, like the wellness practitioners or some of these people, they don't market a lot because it's usually word of mouth. Like they get started doing something. The guy we had on earlier, he started in his basement, and he had the whole InBody in his literal basement, having people come in, and then they got to a point where they could expand. But it's like
some days I want to go back to the basement. Can I just go to the basement?
Well, yeah, you got a few things going on now, so.
I mean, honestly, like it's just. I mean, God calls us to level up sometimes, and it's really quite. It can be challenging. Just
daunting sometimes.
And I'm actually the kind of person that I don't want to project that like everything is sunshine, and I always say sunshine and kittens, but sunshine and rainbows, or whatever like you analogy you want to make or whatever, because that's never the case. It's never the case.
No, never.
Everybody has difficulties. Everybody has challenges. Everybody has roadblocks, and and everybody has people in their life that are supportive and people that aren't.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you don't mind, Steffany, tell people what is the difference? Because you do have traditional dental practices under your umbrella, and then you also have the holistic side. So, and they're literally right next to each other. So,
that's a fun story in itself, but I won't tell that one. That's just logistics. That's just like, hey, I'm a tenant in a couple buildings. I don't want to be a tenant anymore. Let's build a building and move everybody together. That's actually, so it's funny that you say that, Heidi. That's like the number one question I get from people are like, tell me about what's different about holistic, right? So, and you actually described a lot of it. And truly, our education systems are limited, so they're limited in, they can't teach everything, even dental school. Dental school is 4 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can't teach everything in 4 years. And, and then they make you jump through the hoops in undergrad for 4 years too. So, after 8 years, you come out and you kind of think you should know everything. That's a long time, right? How many people go to school for 8 years and come out and they're like just getting started?
Right.
And so holistic dentistry doesn't fit the model of our current education system, which is why you're not going to see a lot of it, right? They're limited in what they can teach. They're limited in how they teach it. They're limited in their philosophy of, sort of what they believe. And that's complete. It's okay. Everybody's on their different journey. 54 looks very different from 34 for me, in lots of ways. Some of them aren't great. But it's really about that, just understanding, deeper and deeper understanding. But holistic, the main thing that I tell people is if you come from sort of a holistic philosophy with your health and you want to find the root cause of different things, and you're not going to hit resistance. At a holistic dental office, right? You're not going to get somebody that's like, no, you have to have fluoride. You're not going to get somebody that's, because we really don't even do fluoride, right? But you're not going to, I'd like to have my mercury fillings removed. You're not going to get resistance with that. You're going to get support. Right. And I think, you're going to get ozone, which is cleaner than a lot of the things that, we've used previously. And it's, what's funny is that we did wonder, moving them literally into the same building, is this going to be really weird? And it's just not. Just like the patients are allowed to have their own philosophies and their own journey, so are the dentists, right? Yeah. So my dentist and my hygienist have different journeys. Yeah. And so, and thinking that, I mean, we live in a time where a lot of people don't think there's a whole lot of right and wrong. There's just sort of shades of gray. And I mean, we're not going to get into that. That's like a really long discussion. But right. But I think that we allow people to come in and kind of share their journey and tell them that where they are is just right. And I think that's the difference between holistic and general dentistry right now, especially in our offices, is just we're going to share our philosophy with you, but ultimately it's kind of more hinged on what you need and what your, what your journey, where you are in your journey. So you're just not going to hit that resistance with, I mean, because I know people that they're like, hey, I don't want fluoride today at a general office. And they're like, why?
Yeah.
And I mean, A, it's not loving, B, it's not kind, C, it's not compassionate, and it's not respectful of where that other person is on their journey, and we can say, I mean, like in a general office, we can say, we do, and honestly, like we're actually seeing this rebound of really holistic people that are avoiding the fluoride, but they're not avoiding the carbs and even really good carbs, great breads, great, fruits and, things that, that have really good sugars and good carbs or whatever, but they can cause cavities. And so we're seeing a lot of young kids that haven't had, the fluoride that are getting the cavities that we didn't see in those populations before. So it's not that, I mean, we're not going to push fluoride in holistic. We're going to really counsel and talk to you about different habits and different things that you can do to really make that just a better situation for you and your kids. So, I mean, because nothing hurts more than when you're holistic and you're like, oh, God, oh my gosh, I thought I was doing everything right. And then my kid has cavities, so.
Yeah. I like that, how you put that, because I do think so much, we talk a lot on this podcast, I feel like was I did one a couple weeks ago on my first appointment back, pregnant, and it was just you're like a cog in a machine, and it's no, this is what's going to happen, and I do think that I've never had somebody say it like that, but I do think that's a big difference in between some of this holistic or functional or whatever term you want to call it versus some of the traditional is it really is based on you and your care and your philosophy and what works for you and your body, and then supporting that, so your doctor's supporting that. So I love that.
We spend a lot of time thinking that the doctor knows you best, but if they see you a couple times a year, how's that possible? If you're not in tune with your own body and your own system to know you best, then I mean, I hate the term gaslighting just because it's way overused, but I mean, I think we've led people to believe that their own beliefs about their own bodies aren't valid.
Yes, I would agree. Yeah.
And I love that you said respecting the patient, because quite frankly, I had a dentist for many years, and when I started learning more about the mercury that I have plenty of in my mouth, because I was a young kid when I got cavities.
Yeah, most of us were, right?
Yeah. And I'm I really like to consider a path of removing. And it was why? Why would you do that? That's not necessary. And I'm so I no longer go to that dentist.
And it goes back to that traditional, I mean, we are all taught that traditionally, unless there's something structurally wrong with those, they should never be removed. That is what we're taught. And so, you have to respect that 90+% of the dentists are going to feel that way because that's what they're taught until they have a reason to challenge those beliefs. And honestly, I mean, in our practice, we're never going to look in somebody's mouth and say, you got to have all that stuff out, because we would then not be in compliance with what, we have to tread a little lightly with what we're taught too. So when you come to us and you say, I'd really like to have these out, we'll respect that, right? But we're not going to push that on anybody because, again, they're at their point in their journey and they may not be ready for it. I mean, they may need to take a bunch of steps before they do that as well. So I will tell you something really interesting too. I think the big piece that we haven't put them into a patient for over 20 years. So it's not like we're putting them in, but we're removing them on a regular basis. And I was just at, I had a girls trip. It was amazing with 6 of 7 of us were dentists, and we all had some testing and we're all super, super high in mercury. So, I mean, we've been exposed to it for decades. And I'm the youngest of I'm 30 years in, some of them are 40 years into practice or, whatever. And so the patients are always going to be our primary focus, but unfortunately we don't focus on the fact that we've been exposed for decades to over and over and over every day. And I mean, I was exposed when I was pregnant. I was exposed when I had little kids, I mean, like, I just like that kind of breaks my heart a little bit too. And you guys, I mean, I know Heidi for sure. I mean, I have a daughter in dental school. She's done in a year. Right. And so she was taught the same things, right? She won't use mercury fillings because she's my kid, but I mean, but a lot of her classmates will come out and still use them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you don't use them even in your traditional practice?
I have it for over 20 years. Yeah. That's awesome. That was actually, it's funny because I mean, this is funny. The term confrontation has come up a lot recently. And I'm like, I love, nobody loves confrontation, I don't think, but I love just sort of lovingly, having conversations with people in the sense that, just like my friend that said to me, hey, there's only 2 legal places you can put this stuff. Like, think about that for a minute. Yeah. Just think about it. And I flipped really quickly, right? I've just had that conversation with other people who are like, oh yeah, that's really interesting. And then they keep doing what they're doing, which is, that's okay. But I mean, I just think there's just more to, there's more to us than just like, one thing and, how we feel and but our philosophies are going to develop over time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's so interesting. Yeah. I was listening to a podcast the other day that was talking about, and that was the first time I'd heard like, there's only 2 places that you really can put this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I knew I've heard, knowing you and Heidi's journey, but when you start to put some of those pieces together, it's like kind of crazy. Some of the things that go on that we just is the norm. It's just
well, and lay people that haven't been taught otherwise accept that really quickly.
Yeah.
And so that's why holistic dentistry is growing so fast. People are like, I want this stuff out. Like, this does not belong in me. This should never have been put in me, right?
Right.
I think that, our profession has just been slow to say we've made some mistakes.
Right.
And I think that, like, everybody is, nobody wants to say that I was wrong. Nobody. Right. I mean, that's just not a comfortable thing, right?
No. Mm-hmm. So interesting.
No, this is great. I love this. I learned something new from you all the time, Steph.
Well, here's the other thing that like I'm really clear about is that until we can say that we were wrong about something, we can't learn something new.
Yeah.
Right. And so like it's actually really healthy to say, oh gosh, I think I was wrong about that, Yeah. And really just be okay with it and not make it mean that there's something wrong with me. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me. It means that I was wrong in that philosophy that I had or that area or something like that. Or we now we know more.
That's what, like, it's just like how we were raised. Yeah, it's just like that was our, again, societal norms. I follow a couple of people that, they're like living off the grid type of thing. But it's like they have a lot of posts about, how much conditioning did it take for us as a society to do some of these things or, eat so much processed food and have that be okay when it's literally, doing things to our body that sometimes we can't reverse. So anyway.
Well, it's because our bodies are amazing.
So awesome.
I mean, the abuse that our bodies can take and still function is incredible. I mean, absolutely unbelievable.
I know, they are fascinating. Yeah. It's fun. I feel like I have so many questions, but okay. So with the sleep stuff, so I'm like really fascinated by this actually. So if you don't want to do the CPAP, you would still get the sleep study, and then are you fitted for this thing that would go in your mouth? Okay.
Yes, it's very custom, and it's very. We want it to be kind of as strong as possible, but as small as possible. So I mean, because nobody wants like a big. It's not big.
That's what I'm picturing, like this big contraption sticking out at night.
Yeah, I think like kind of smaller retainers, with like a, kind of an arm that kind of pushes you forward. So it's not intrusive.
Say what it's called again, Steffany.
A mandibular, so the mandible, the lower jaw, mandibular advancement device.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And then is it something you wear the rest of your life, or is there?
Yeah. So that's actually interesting in itself too, because another piece of holistic dentistry is airway, and so we're really looking at. There's so many interesting things that you can see inside the mouth that lead you to kind of understand maybe what's going on in different. The mouth is like fascinating, right? And we've got up to 32 teeth, and like how do they come together? How do the muscles support them?
Right.
What does the tongue look like, right? So often people that have sleep apnea and will grind their teeth at night,
Yeah.
they have like what's called a scalloped tongue. So the tongue is actually like remodeled almost around the teeth. So a healthy tongue is kind of smooth and doesn't have, these scallops or whatever. So if you see a scalloped tongue, that's like a big sign too. So there's fascinating signs. I mean, like a narrow, vaulted palate. So if you see the maxilla, the upper jaw,
Yeah.
like that's vaulted, or if you see somebody with a really narrow smile, like you can see, like I actually had my yeah, I had my upper and my lower jaws expanded so that I didn't have to maybe wear the sleep appliance the rest of my life.
Okay.
So that's a completely other conversation. But kind of just like there's really fascinating things. And again, Heidi, like, the tongue tie goes into all of it, right? Because if your tongue can't form your palate, then that it throws your muscles off. It throws your sleep off. It throws your airway off. So.
Yeah, I would have never thought about all that.
Yeah, I know.
Well, and tongue tied all the way down to your toe, it impacts. I mean,
yeah,
my pelvic floor therapist is who's helping me.
Yes, exactly. Crazy. I have a friend that's a dentist in Texas, and she says this really beautifully. She said, the floor of the mouth, the diaphragm, and the pelvic floor are all, connected.
Interconnected. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Huh.
Yeah. So your mouth, your breathing, and your, all the other stuff is connected. So she works on all of that. And yeah, down to your feet, right? So,
so much to think about. One of my oldest daughter, actually, this is another thing in the mouth that I didn't really put together, and I'd be fascinated what your take is, but she was grinding her teeth and then started snoring a lot at night.
Yeah.
And we took her to the dentist, not the dentist, but she just had a regular appointment, and the doctor was like, oh my gosh, have you ever seen her tonsils?
Oh,
and I was like, they were so big, they were like almost touching.
Yeah, they call them kissing.
Yeah. So we got it. We took them out. We did tonsils and adenoids, and ever since then, I've not heard her grind her teeth or snore.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is wild. I did not know that was and I know some people say don't take them out or whatever, but.
Yeah, but what happens is when kids can't breathe through their nose because their nose is obstructed, then they breathe through their mouth, and then what the tonsils do is they collect all of the allergens that are supposed to be filtered through the nose.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's why the tonsils like blow up, because they're collecting all of that stuff that's supposed to be filtered through the nose. Yeah, so that's why I say the mouth is for eating, the nose is for breathing, right? And honestly, this is also the funny thing that I hear all the time is people are like, well, I know I don't breathe through my mouth when I sleep. I'm like, I have no idea. I have no idea. I mean, we really truly do not know what is happening when we sleep until you have it tested and which is why they used to put the weird cameras on you. Like they want to see the behaviors and like, are you flip-flopping? But the sleep test can tell that. I mean, we know if you're on your side, if you're on your back, if you're on your stomach, if you're breathing so that you have enough oxygen at night. We know if you stop breathing for more than 10 seconds, which is an apnea. We know all of that stuff from a home test. It's amazing.
That's crazy. That was I was listening. She was sleeping with me one night, and she like physically like. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, she's like dead, and then we at the next appointment, they mentioned her tonsils, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just didn't even know that, but it scared me because she actually, I hear her stop breathing, and I was like, that's not.
And 10 seconds might not sound like, because we can hold our breath for 10 seconds, right? It might not sound like a huge amount of time. The problem is that what happens at the end of that 10 seconds is our brain's like, we stop breathing for 10 seconds, we need to wake up.
Oh.
So it's called micro arousals. So you're only sleeping for seconds at a time, and then you fall back to sleep, and then it happens again. So I mean, like what the problem is that you're never really getting true sleep, and so that's a huge problem. And then again, like sleep is the only time that we really like our body repairs and heals. So I mean, when you see people that have this is one of the things where and I'm not going to make like direct correlations here or whatever, but you see people are like, oh, this perfectly healthy person has cancer. Like that's terrifying because like they did everything right and they, whatever. Could be their sleep.
Yeah.
It could be that they're just not repairing, their cells are not repairing at night because they have these micro arousals and they're really truly not sleeping.
Right.
And so, and then, and honestly, like I was one of those people where, and this is why I got into airway, because I was one of those people, I'm like, wait, people wake up feeling rested. I just wake up because I got to get up.
Right. Right.
And so like the alarm wakes me up or I get up and I was like, whoa. So when I finally got sleep that was restful and I woke up in the morning and I was like, what? Like mind blown. Because I was like, that is crazy. This is how people feel when they wake up in the morning. They're like, it's like the Disney movies where they're like, oh, they wake up and the birds are flying around and singing and all that kind of thing. Like I never experienced that. And I didn't experience it because I was retracted and like I was like a tooth, like a orthodontic thing.
Well, and probably the norm. Most people don't.
I think it's the norm.
And they don't know any differently.
I think it's the norm. Yeah, and they just function because they have to function, right? It's not just they really like dive deep into. Yeah.
Right.
I do have one other quick question. Curious minds want to know, especially considering you talked about the tongue. Yeah. What about tongue scraping?
Oh,
tongue scraping is awesome. Like super, super awesome. So
gross and satisfying and all the things.
This is the beauty of like, I guess to be fair, I only saw patients for 24 years. The last 6 years I've just been like, doing the business stuff or whatever. But in 24 years, I had a couple of people that came in and they're like, there's something really big growing on the back of my tongue. Well, they're called fungiform papillae. They're these big mushroom shaped papilla, like taste buds at the back of your tongue. Okay. And if you really they're way back there. And so they tend to like grab, little, bacteria and stuff like that in your mouth, because there's always bacteria in your mouth. It's not like, that's not news. But yeah, the tongue scraper is a really good way to get back. So it's a low profile way to get back there and really like scrape all the gunk. I mean, if you're really lucky and you don't have a huge gag reflex, you can take, a toothbrush or a sonic toothbrush or something like that back there and really like clean the tongue really well. But tongue scrapers are awesome, like, and kind of crazy. Like the stuff that you can get off the tongue is kind of nuts.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say gross too, but I'm like, I mean, it is what it is, right? So,
but once you do it, like, and it's part of your routine, like it is like, I can tell when I don't do it now.
Yes.
It's like,
well, it's sort of like, flossing and getting chunks out in between your teeth and you're like, whoa, how long has that been there? I mean, like hopefully like that's why you create these daily habits so you don't have chunks that come out, that you wonder how long they've been there. You'd like to think that's less than a day.
Flossing is a bad habit I don't have, or it's I need to get better at.
Huge fan of floss picks. I mean, so there are cavities in between the teeth where the teeth touch. So, I mean, ideally floss is better because it actually like cleans that area in between the teeth. But like the floss picks that go under, like kind of go in between, those are kind of faster and easier, and you don't have to, navigate the floss. But you can think of flossing as like a really good, like, dexterity exercise.
There's like two camps of flossers, like, so there's like me who like never does, and then there's and every time it's like, oh, did you floss? Oh no, I don't even lie anymore. And then there's like my girlfriend this weekend that she literally like pulled out floss and put it in her pocket so she had it at the concert, and I was like, what are you doing? She's like,
I don't know about in public. I'm not a big I wouldn't advocate that necessarily, but
I was like, okay.
So I'm going to make you feel much, much better right now, because there's this famous, there's 1,000 dentists in a room, right? And they're like, stand up if you floss every day. 7%.
Oh, I believe
it. Dentists. And we know better. We absolutely know better, which is why I adopted floss picks, because I'm like, okay, at least I'm going to do this, because when I get the chunks out, I'm like, okay, that needed to go. So that's, but I have some areas that I really need to floss on a daily basis, so.
Or you could be like my dad and my husband that just carry around toothpicks.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're always every time you have a toothpick?
Yeah. Toothpicks are great. My dad was a big toothpick guy, but yeah.
I do neither.
Honestly, okay, so I'll tell you one other trick. This is one of my hygienists who's just she's so great. She says to her, her patients will come in, sit in her chair, and she's like, take this floss, put it between, usually the back teeth are, harbor a little bit more stuff or whatever. She's like, put it between your back teeth and smell it.
Ooh. I don't think I want to do that.
That will make you a flosser.
Duly noted.
Because then, honestly, if you floss a couple days in a row, and it won't smell anymore. So,
Okay, I'm gonna try that.
I know, right? I know. You're like, yeah.
Like, add another thing.
I mean, I have like 50 years supply of floss in my house just because, like
I'm sure.
bag, like every time you go to a conference or whatever. So if you ever need a little extra floss, just let me know.
I know. Everything just kind of grosses me out right now. I'm not gonna lie.
I know.
So
I'm sorry.
maybe I shouldn't start that right now. I don't know. Or maybe I should, and then I would just have it the rest of my
There
life
are
as a
things
habit.
that make you a believer, right? I mean, like the
Yeah.
amino acids, and 3 weeks later, I'm like a whole new person. And I'm like, okay, talk to me about supplements because I think these are amazing. And like the medication didn't make me feel better. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, and honestly, like, that's one of the hard things about our medical system, and this will be my soapbox, and I'll get off it really quickly, I promise. But, why did we expect big pharma, who has their own interests, and medical and dental insurance companies who have their own interests, to have our best interests in mind?
You do wonder how that like started. Like I feel like we should almost deep dive that sometime, because it is.
I want to
like,
go back to those meetings and tell them to like hit the road.
Because until you start putting all those pieces together, which I think everybody in this podcast has from their journeys, like you don't realize. I mean, they're a business at the end of the day. I mean, they're like a for-profit, very lucrative business.
We've brought these people in alongside our medical and our dental care, and we've expected our interests to align, and they just don't.
Yeah.
And they're not going to. I mean, insurance companies, the less they pay out, the less claims they pay, the more their profit, right? I mean, like what's funny is that, like for us, I mean, the more patients we see, the more people we help, the more people we take care of and help them with their health, the better, so like those two are completely opposite.
Right.
They don't align, right? I mean, big pharma, the more drugs you can take for the rest of your life, the better it is for them. I don't want that. I mean, that's the last thing I want. So, I mean, it's just, we can't expect those things to be aligned.
Right. I know.
And I don't think we even have to blame or, I mean, like, am I curious about how it all happened? Yes. But I'm more curious about how we inform more people with like things like
how we make the change.
Right.
Yeah.
How we decide that we just want to like, let's not do that. Let's not, because honestly, like, I mean, people come into our offices all the time and they're like, why do I have dental insurance? You guys have a plan that I can have and I don't have to, I mean, like, and then we have people that are like, where do I go buy dental insurance? We're like, don't. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you bring a third party into it? I mean, why do, warehouses like Costco exist? Because they're not as much of a third party. They sell some of their own things instead of like everybody else's things, So that's a terrible analogy, by the way. But I mean, like, the point is that
people understand it, though.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you don't need 3 people in. You need 2, a provider and a patient.
Yeah.
And our prior podcast too. So I would throw in big food, right?
Yeah.
There's marketing around food, and then once you have the high processed or ultra processed food, it's what you get used to tasting good.
Right.
So then when you go to want to go healthy, it's like, well, this just doesn't taste as good.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too, because when you talk to people about, cutting out the 3 big inflammatory, like gluten, sugar, dairy, they're like, well, what's left?
I know.
Real food.
Yeah.
Protein, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, I mean, like things that are real, that grew in the ground or had a mother, So, I mean, like it's not hard to find real food. You just are like substituting things that aren't real in the mix, and then you wonder why you don't really feel as well, because they're not nutrient dense foods.
Yeah, it is. Foods is like a whole topic that is just like I know we might have to.
It makes me sad that we have to supplement, but I think that we're just way past the point where, I mean, I think anybody that reasonably understands the quality of our soil and the nutrients, nutrients in our food has just declined so much. I just think we're at a point where it's just not an option anymore.
I would agree. I know. So many topics.
I know. We've hit a lot. Gosh, you guys are.
I know. These are always fun because you never know where they're really going to go. That's why I don't like to prep that much for them, because it's like you never know which avenue people are going to go. So
right. Well, even something simple like water quality. I had a friend that had cancer for years, and she's like, "What do you mean you've had a reverse osmosis system for 20 years?" And I'm like, "There's junk in our water. We don't want it." I mean, and we think that like I think our water treatment plants are probably doing a great job, but there's other things that just don't get filtered out.
Right, right.
So,
Well, no, Iowa's one of the worst with those. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I would say that like,
Unfortunately.
like, well, and like, I thank God that I did put in a reverse osmosis system 20 years ago, because
Right,
I think it's probably led to my family being a lot healthier.
right.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, thanks for coming on. I feel like we could sit here and talk forever, but we
Definitely good.
Heidi, do you have any last questions or anything before
No,
we?
like I said, I've asked my questions, so thank you, because I learn something new every time I talk to you.
Well, you guys too, though. I mean, like, we could reverse this whole thing, and we get like,
A
same,
whole
same.
other podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
I know,
Exactly.
it's fun. It's fun when the people like-minded in this space get together because there's just like a lot of things you can talk about. So,
It
Well,
is.
that's what's so great about the potential within. We have
Oh,
like minds, but some people coming in with curious minds and want to
Yeah.
learn more.
yep.
And so we just hope that their curiosity gets met and they, are able to get their questions asked and get answered. And
Or at least
that's what
get
we love
curious.
about the summit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And stay
Yeah.
curious. Exactly right.
yeah, yeah. That curiosity is the biggest. It's the
Mhm.
biggest thing. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Dr. Mohan, for coming on today. It was a pleasure to have you, and we look forward to seeing everybody next week.